Peter, it all started last week with a man named David Meyer.
Hi, Oliver. It did. So people realized that typing this name into ChatGPT and asking it to talk about the man would crash the program. And this sparked a lot of speculation as to why this might be the case. I think, without wanting to speculate too much, the most likely explanation is that it's the same David Meyer who was an American academic who for years tried to get his name disentangled from a man of the same name who appeared to be designated a terrorist by US authorities. This might explain why the name could be on some sort of sensitive person's list to not be spoken about by ChatGPT. OpenAI actually told The Guardian that this was a mistake and that one of their tools mistakenly flagged him, and they've since fixed it, but other names still produce the error. So this morning I checked out all of these other names: Brian Hood, Jonathan Turley, Jonathan Zittrain, David Faber, and Guido Scorza. They all still crash the app. So what's going on here? Well, maybe Brian Hood, who's an Australian mayor, might give us the biggest clue as to what's going on. In a world first, last year he threatened to sue OpenAI for ChatGPT making false statements about him. He told the Sydney Morning Herald in February this year that he had dropped his charges because OpenAI had removed the offending results. For 404 Media, meanwhile, pointed out that the two Jonathans on the list, Turley and Zittrain, they're both prominent law professors who have written extensively about ChatGPT. Jonathan Turley, for instance, has written a blog post saying that ChatGPT defamed him, and Guido Scorza is a data protection official in Italy. So it doesn't take Sherlock to see that there's a bit of a theme maybe emerging here.
Yeah, and you mentioned the right to erasure. Does that mean that you can ask ChatGPT to stop talking about you full stop?
Right, so here's where it gets interesting. If these people did ask to be erased, well, it's unfortunate because they're all in the news now, but we know that it's not the case for at least one of them. So, for instance, Jonathan Turley told 404 Media that he had no idea why this was happening and that he hadn't even filed a lawsuit. If it is the David Meyer we think it is, well, he died last year, so presumably he didn't also tell OpenAI to remove him. I didn't get a response from OpenAI for more information about this list and what might be going on here. But I will point out that it's very, very easy to circumvent this block. All you have to do, and I tested this with all of these names and it worked, is ask it to describe the person with their initials and not their name. And it will happily talk about them. People online also noticed that the programmer's version of ChatGPT, the API, was happy to talk about these names at length with no block in place. So it's definitely something happening on the ChatGPT website, and it appears to be some kind of keyword block. Now, this raises lots of questions, as you say, about the right to be forgotten, but also just simple ones. If you've got a name which is shared with lots of people who don't also need to be blocked, how do you stop them all from being blocked? Or maybe your name's Barack Obama or Donald Trump, you've got the same name as a famous person. How do you then sort out the block in that case? And then if you do want to exercise your rights to erasure, how does that work? Because, okay, you can block some results, but we know that AI models are trained on vast data sets that it could include your personal data in those. So how do you stop other results popping up from other people that do describe you in a way that you might object to? So don't we also just have the right for AI not to learn things about you before it's even during the training process? In fact, there is a field of machine learning which has emerged called machine forgetting or machine unlearning, which is working on this, but it's going to be difficult, perhaps even as difficult as unbaking a cake, possible in theory, but impossible in practice, maybe.
Yeah, and there is certainly an instance where perhaps having a name that is so easy to Google can be an advantage, but also a curse in others too.
And I just want to point out the different data jurisdictions we've got at play here. And I think, this is something that's always going to be useful to our viewers, actually knowing when you can claim to get your data removed and when you can't. So if you're in the EU or the UK, you are under GDPR, you have some of the most extensive data erasure rights anywhere in the world. But also if you're in Brazil, Kenya, or even China, you have the similar rights to demand that your data be removed and to withdraw your consent at any point. The same can't be said for most most of the world. Other countries which have similar rules but require that data to be in some way inaccurate include Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, and Uganda. So you might be thinking, okay, ChatGPT might have some data on me or might be saying things about me that I object to. How can I get it removed? First of all, depends on your jurisdiction, as I say. Second of all, honestly, it doesn't seem like it's possible at the moment. It's been trained on stuff that may or may not have to do with you. We don't know now how to actually remove this from the training set. In fact, one non-profit, the European Centre for Digital Rights, says that the very fact that it can spit out information about you that is not true, it is counter to GDPR, or that you simply don't want it to talk about you, is counter to GDPR. And they filed a lawsuit in April. OpenAI says this is an area of, quote, active research around the question of factual accuracy. I should say it's not just a problem with ChatGPT, but all chatbots. One big purported solution is synthetic data, but privacy activists will simply tell you too little, too late. These things have already been trained on people's personal data.